podcast. The Regents podcast. Okay.
All right. Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome back to the Regents podcast.
Welcome.
My name is Aja.
And I'm Ellen.
Yes, indeed. And we are two best friends who quit our jobs to pursue our passions.
Indeed.
Welcome along to our journey. We're always excited to have you here.
Yes.
And, this episode, I really wanted to share with Ellen another podcast. Now I'm the one listening to podcasts.
Oh my God. Let's just celebrate. Let's just celebrate the breakthrough. Because in the beginning, Aja was less inclined to be listening to the podcast.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So now here we are,
the tables have turned.
Bringing our information from our other podcasts, aka TikTok clips.
Listen, well, TikTok clips. I've watched the podcast.
I listened to the podcast. Air quotes for the audio listeners.
But this one I actually did listen to.
Yeah, I love it.
Listen to it on Spotify. It's the On Purpose podcast, and it was actually my first time listening to. Yeah, I know.
Oh, I love his podcast.
I really like it as
well.
On
Purpose with Jay Shetty.
With Jay Shetty, that's right. And first of all, that is right up our alley. We love purpose and intention here.
Yeah.
And what drew me to it, though, was one of my favorite artists, Alicia Keys, was featured on the podcast. And the title of their conversation was just about, boosting self-confidence and just kind of being one with yourself and taking care of your soul and all that type of stuff. I love that she's an advocate for that, especially like with her product line and all that type of stuff. But there was something in particular, not even so much in line with the title of the podcast, but they started to speak about, as a creative especially, which really resonates with Ellen and I, learning how to balance control. When we're designing a thing or envisioning something for ourselves, like we did, a year and a half ago with letting go of our jobs. Yeah. We lost them voluntarily.
Yeah. On purpose.
On purpose. Okay. So when we were envisioning what our lives would look like in, starting our own businesses and stuff like that, we were very much in control, setting certain things in motion to make it go, etc. But Alicia Keys also mentioned that while she can have control freak tendencies in doing that, there's also a point where she's, built up this thing. She's manifested this vision that she's had into a very real or tangible thing. And now she just needs to get lost in that, in the creation of what she's built. And that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Wow.
I absolutely loved it because, and to Ellen's point, when we were talking, pre-recording of today's podcast, she mentioned that it does fall in line with our with our recent conversation about, if you've trusted love this far, don't panic now. And this kind of is a great segue to that, in realizing when to have control and be very adamant about what you envision and making sure that it is what you've seen in your head, making sure that gets carried out, but also finding the beauty in just like letting things flow and being in the moment. So yeah, that really spoke to me in so many different ways.
Really?
Yes.
List them all now.
All right, 1, 2, 3, go.
No, the first thing that you said really stuck out to me because it's funny. I think when you think of creatives, I think a lot of people we've spoken about this as well on the podcast. And if anybody feels similarly, drop a comment, share the podcast.
Yeah.
Creatives, in my mind, had a particular look or way of behaving, or never had an office job, could never have been in an office. It's crazy to think about that person,
Right.
And it's interesting when you think about creatives, right? But then you add in the idea of a control freak, right? Being a
Mhm.
control freak, controlling of the vision, the idea, what you're putting into the world. I think of Beyonce as very,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
very, very, very meticulous about what
Yes.
she puts into the world when she offers herself to the world. I'm shocked. I heard she's going to be singing on Christmas Day for Netflix at
Hmm.
the NFL, like Houston's game or something, whatever,
Oh,
which
yeah,
I
the
was
Texans.
surprised she was going to be involved with the NFL, but not surprised because
Mm.
this album makes a lot of sense, I think, to be playing in Houston on Christmas Day. Very cool.
Yeah,
But
of
also,
course. Oh,
it's a
wow.
choice. Like, it's very rare that she like does those kinds of appearances anymore, right?
Yeah,
Same thing
yeah,
with you're saying about Alicia Keys. I think we can also like pinpoint someone like a Taylor Swift who's very meticulous. I don't like
yep.
the word calculated because I think everyone has very like negative ideas of the word calculated,
Yes.
but
Right,
she
right.
is like very meticulous about what she puts out, when she puts stuff out. She also puts little Easter eggs in her stuff so that people can guess when stuff's coming out. Very
Oh, yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
And
same.
there's
So
that
does
element who
well, I was gonna say, not so much when things come out, but Beyoncé, you only notice, like, in hindsight.
yeah, oh yeah.
Beyoncé always leaves clues that we don't know or won't get
Yeah.
until, and only she really knows in her
It's
team,
so
but
fun. It is so crazy. But there is that element of like, okay, what is controlling my creativity, my process, my output, my the idea of like the control freak in us all, right? So that
Yeah,
kind of the
yep.
question kind of came up in my mind of like, would you identify as a quote unquote control freak? Or would you say that you
That
like
beautiful phrase.
I know it sounds because it sounds really like negative, right? And it's like
It
I've
does,
told this
yeah.
example on the podcast before where I'm like, yeah, I've like used to be like I've really like mellowed out, I've really changed. My mom's like, sure,
Have you?
sure.
Right.
But there's also the perception of you versus the reality of you, right? So like
Mhm.
I, I handled all my health insurance stuff a couple of weeks ago and I was like really like, oh my God, I have to deal with this. This is crazy. And I told my mom about it and she was like, oh, I'm really proud of you. Like you've come such a long way. Like you didn't cry, like you didn't freak out, like you really just
Mm.
handled it. And I'm like, yeah, no, of course. Like I just handled it. And she's like, yeah, but there was a time where you would have cried. You would have like kind of melted down
Mm.
over this. Yes, you would have handled it, but it would have been a much bigger production. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but that was
Not a
like, 10
production.
years ago. Like that was so long ago.
Yeah.
But also in her mind, she's seen me handle things. I always go through them, but just like the way that I get through them has changed. And what
Yeah,
she
yeah.
saw more of was when I was younger and I was not as aware of myself or be able to control my emotions as much. So when she
Mhm.
hears that I've like handled something that in the past would have like really spun me out,
Taken a
and
lot
I'm
out of
like,
you.
yeah, and I'm like, no, because I've gotten to the point in my life where I recognize that does not serve me and that does not
Right.
help me get past and through this thing. And so
Mm.
I've evolved and changed, like I like to think I have with my controlling ways.
Yes,
Because I
you
don't,
have
again, think
progress.
I'm a control freak. And I think I'm a very like good at like navigating those conversations. So I wanted to ask you because you're bringing this conversation to the podcast of like, how do you
Mhm.
identify? Like, do you feel like you are more controlling in some arenas of your life and maybe a little bit less controlling? Because I love the phrase let go and let God. And I feel like that is something that
Yes.
like is a very you phrase. So I'm
It is a
curious,
you and me
how do you,
phrase.
yeah, how do you handle? Because you're very good about like
Mm.
turning to prayer and turning to a higher guidance. And I'm kind of curious if you're struggling with control freakism.
Yes, I am. That's what I'm telling you.
That's why I'm
It
curious. Like, how do
resonated
you
with me.
feel? Yeah, how do you feel? Like, how does that hit you? Control
Uh,
freaking.
you know, hmm. Hmm. And let me also tell you guys, listeners, that before this podcast, I also mentioned to Ellen that, pre quitting my job, I was very much the whole process of deciding to leave and embark on a music journey full time was a very spiritual process for me. All I did was pray, talk, listen to God, pray again, ponder, journal.
Mhm.
I was seeing all sorts of signs. It was very much a spiritual process for me. And I said to her, before we started recording, that I wanted to get back to that because I'm on my 1 year anniversary of leaving my job. And it was just like, you know what? this year, because everything falls on, my shoulders for Ajamoye Music as an entrepreneur, I very much felt like I have to make it all go now that I'm in the driver's seat, right? But I was like, I really want to get back to that time when I really I left it all up to God. And so that phrase, let go and let God, I would say that's a Aja phrase, but I would also say, and I think a couple of people, would also agree that I do have control freak tendencies. Um, just because I think being intentional and being on
Mhm.
purpose is this very fine art where you realize that a lot is in your control, but a lot
Mm.
isn't in your
Mhm.
control. So, being intentional, I like to be the one to say, okay, no, I'm not going to do that because I've learned and, put myself in alignment with my higher power and that's not for me, whatever.
Mhm.
But in that same regard, I do battle with it. And something you had started to mention about creatives, I feel like there is a connotation of creative people, like you were mentioning. Some people feel like creatives look a certain way,
Yeah.
and they're just so, I don't know, hippie, or and they just kind of go with the flow because
Mhm.
art, all of that. But when you think about all of these legendary people that, we look up to and we consume their art, they are meticulous. And it reminds me
Mm.
of that phrase from, I think it was Lauren Hill or Erica. And she was like, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. So it's like when you're a visionary or you're trying to execute a vision that you've had, you have to be, obsessive about it and want to have a certain amount of control over it, because it's like, no, 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 I know exactly. I've seen
Yeah.
every piece and angle of this a million times over in my head. So it has to be like that,
Yeah.
and you're creative because you're creating something from nothing, but it doesn't mean that it's haphazard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm finding in this current season that I'm more of the let go, let God,
Mhm.
and keeping the control freak in me in check. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I feel like when I allow the control part to take too much space, I'm too in my head, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'd say that's where I am
I
right
know that's
now.
the tricky part is the idea of the balance of like, I have a clear vision. I want to achieve a certain thing. I know how to achieve things because I'm
Mhm.
someone who knows how to achieve. So it's like if we just it's so funny like the like my way or the highway version of control
Mm.
freak is I think what
Yeah.
people think of control freak. And
Right.
I don't necessarily think that that applies to
Mm-mm.
every iteration or every version of ourselves of when we are very controlling of you
A
have a vision,
1,000%.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's not like my way or the highway with innocuous things, right?
Right.
It's
Mhm.
I may think I know a better way to do things. And this is such a paleo specific thing in my family. Like the paleo
Yeah.
line is very like, yeah, but I know the best way to do something. And it can be really annoying to
I love that.
everyone.
To
I know
everyone else.
it's like a
Yeah.
whole narrative in my family of like it's very paleo to think like
Uh-huh.
you know best. And it's like
Right.
I can't help that I'm just highly logical and see things how they should be done
Very
sometimes.
differently
But then
than
I
you. Right.
also recognize like I'll do something and I'll be like, that was the most ass backward way to get that thing done. That was the most inefficient. That was so ridiculous. Like what? It's like, did you ever see the video of Kendall Jenner cutting a cucumber backwards?
No.
She was
No.
literally like cutting the she was holding it this way and cutting the cucumber like it was completely backwards. You've got to see this
Why?
video. It's
Just
insane. It's
why?
actually the most insane thing ever. But it's a good
Okay.
example of like when you see someone doing something like that, if you can just be like, oh,
Hmm.
okay. Or if you're like physically in pain watching it. Do you know what I mean?
Right, right,
I see that
right.
and I'm like physically I'm unwell. Like
Right.
I can't
I
see
have to
that.
yell.
No, it
Right.
literally feels like I feel a sickness in my stomach when I see that type of thing. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
the choice to like let that out
Mhm.
or keep it
Or
in.
just hold it in.
Yeah, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Again, it's different with different audiences, but I think when it comes to a creative vision, which is not this like innocuous, silly cutting a cucumber thing. It's a very like serious representation of yourself and your creativity and your identity. I mean, that's where things start to get, and I think in a very creative space, and like you hear about all the crazy stuff that goes on in movie sets, the way that directors behave and things that go down in a music studio and the way people are treating each other. Like when it becomes emotional, when it becomes identity driven, when it becomes I am protecting my baby, this album, this movie, this artist, you know, it can become extremely like us or them, my idea or the highway. And I do think that there is that balance of how do you create something and own all the pieces of it, aka control it, without going so far as to kind of like disrupt your own harmony and also like antagonize other people around you. Like
exactly, just trample on everyone else.
Exactly. It's like, you know, if you're sitting in the, okay, let me trust that all the like all the groundwork that I've laid is working. And let me not just constantly feel like I need to be like tweaking, like changing like, oh, what if I did this better? What if I optimize this? It's like, you know what? It is, I think a big thing is like, you know, good enough is better than trying to reach for perfection or any kind, which is difficult. But I think in the whole, you know, super controlling world of like, if I can't control what I can't control. So then trusting, and to your point, kind of like leaning, you know, let go, let God, trusting that everything that you've done up to this point got you to this point, and that what you're putting out into the world, right? Abundance, it's going to come back to you.
Right.
And you don't have to worry that like, oh, me being able to put out this new release or like, you know, isn't going to happen if I don't like do this on this day, or if I don't send this email, or if I'm not like, if my output isn't this and my productivity isn't this. It's like, you know, you start to kind of become your own worst nightmare in like squeezing the fun out of your creativity and out of your process.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you start to become a little bit too focused on the like end goal and making sure the end goal is what needs to happen, or making sure you achieve the thing you want to achieve. And then you start to kind of miss those moments of, people call it inspiration, moments of God, the signs that you were looking for when when you were praying and you were being pointed in the right direction, is because you were allowing space in your life, in your peripheral, to see moments of inspiration. But if you're so like this in control and focus, you start to miss the signs and the opportunity for, oh, I am going in the right direction. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like that's a sign, you know?
Yes. Yeah. That's a really good point. And you have to make space to kind of step outside
Mm,
of whatever it is that you're creating,
yeah.
because you will lose your visibility to see anything other than, what you're choosing to see in
Yeah.
the thing. I feel like we talk about the thing so often.
Yeah.
But it's true. If I'm always stuck in and I'm being too rigid to make sure that this comes out, exactly the way that I planned it, because
Yeah.
I planned it, then I'm missing out on all of the beautiful things that are happening, and I'm not enjoying the journey.
And that
Um,
is such like a looking at things with a microscope or looking at things 3,000 feet, right? You
yes.
have
Yeah.
to be able to do both. And I
Right.
think that
Yeah.
it's not easy for everyone. I think it's a struggle. I think some people are very good with the minutia, the minute details. Some people are
Hmm.
really good at looking at things 3,000 feet.
Big picture.
Some
Yeah.
people can do both of those things really well. Some people can't do
Yeah.
any of that. Like it is, you know what I mean? And I definitely think
Yeah.
about like, you know, working experiences that I've had where people get like lost in the minutia, where I've gotten lost in the minutia, and then I
Hmm.
can't see from 3,000 feet, or other times where I'm at 3,000 feet, not thinking about, okay, but then when it's time to do the thing,
Yeah.
how does that translate? You
Yeah.
know? So there
Yeah.
is a important kind of in between of being able to do both.
Oh, yes.
you know,
Very much so,
being
and
able to
especially
navigate
as an
both
entrepreneur. Yeah,
as an
because
entrepreneur.
we as an entrepreneur, but specifically a solopreneur at
Yeah.
this current stage of our businesses, where we are our team, and we may have certain instances where there are other people who can provide insight, but on a day-to-day basis, it's us.
Yeah.
So we do have to learn how to be in it and like knee deep in it,
Yeah.
if not drowning in it, and then know when to take a step back to
Yeah.
then just like, okay, let me see where we are, assess, adjust, pivot if I need to or whatever.
I think
Um,
that that is so, I mean, truly, I feel like you're really speaking to something right now that I think I'm struggling with, which is the like, I'm in the doing. So I'm in the
mhm.
like, I'm in the forest, I'm in the trees. I can't see the forest right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm in it, and I think that you're really kind of hitting a nail on a head for me right now as a reminder.
Mhm.
As you were talking about planning out the next quarter and like when you want to do releases and stuff, I'm like, wow, I really need to kind of like take that step back from the
Mhm.
doing and plan and get back to a
Mhm.
place where I can see, okay, 90 days, 180 days, how do I
Yeah.
get to the goals that I'm trying to make for myself? How do I achieve those things in a way that's like, I can execute? Because in the day to day, I'm like, oh, taking a break or resting today is like not a good, like I don't have time for it. I've got to keep pushing, got to keep pushing. But in the
Yeah.
scheme of things, okay, if you keep pushing, you do burn out, right? So
Mhm.
that's where we have
Right.
talked about like scheduling time to chill, time to relax, make sure you have like time to breathe. And
Right.
I think that that also comes with looking at, okay, like if the goal is to get to this place, like let's go up high, let's look at this from above. I want to be able to be making this much in a month. I want to be able to get the, Ellen with a Y off the ground. I keep kicking it down the road because
Mhm.
I'm in the now. I'm making videos. I'm editing things. I've got this new live stream thing that I'm doing. Like I'm here. I'm so focused here that I'm not
Yeah.
looking up and
Yeah.
I'm not looking at goals.
Mm. Oh, wow.
And I need time.
See?
I need time
That's
to be able
good.
to do those
You need
things.
time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And I think there's something beautiful about the fact that I keep thinking about, and it's probably because I am approaching my 1 year anniversary,
Yeah.
but I keep thinking about the woman who was on the precipice of quitting her job, who had just put in her notice or who was just about to put in her notice, and how I had such a clear vision of how I wanted things to go. And I was very in tune into the big picture of it all because I wasn't in it. It
Yeah.
was just kind of thinking about what it would be like. And sure, I thought, okay, like on a day to day basis, this is how I think things might go, but it was all very hypothetical.
Mm,
And that part of, my journey was super exciting to me. I loved that. I loved being able to really fine tune the vision.
mm,
I love that. So now I'm just like, okay, you know what? I want to get back to that and not get lost in it, right? Because I'm here now. But to also kind of stay in tune with that part of myself
mm.
and make sure that I do dedicate time to planning and foresight and all of those types of things and being able to step outside of myself in the moment when I am in the throes of an administrative, whatever with all
Yeah.
these emails and all these things to do, on a day-to-day basis to make it all go. It's so important that we do that because otherwise if we don't, I think we run the risk of losing sight of our end goal, and the journey is really the goal to be
Mm,
honest, but when we think about, okay, what do I want to accomplish in the next 2, 5, 10 years, the only way that we're able to do that is if we get in it and we work in it and we get our hands dirty, but then also step outside and then look to see how are we making progress on those things, and it's check-ins. It's making sure that we check in to see, okay, this is the goal for this year or this, half year or whatever. And I need to see if my day to day is reflecting that.
that's the tricky thing is like, how do you find
Mhm.
how do you find the balance? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do
Yeah.
you, oh
But
God.
I think that's the part. It's and I'm saying this with excitement because I feel like that's where I am right now.
Mm,
I am coming off of a super busy month, and it's just like, you know what? Next month is not as busy, and I think that's a blessing.
mm,
Instead of me being like, okay, let me do this because I got to make, do all these other things to make it as busy as this month. It's like, no, girl, you have been praying for some time to focus on, really diving deep into the original music creation, really diving deep into recording and all that type of
mm,
stuff, and planning for the new year and refocusing after, 1 year. Like, I'm going to celebrate November 30th every year. Like, it's my birthday. It's my second birthday.
November 30th is the day.
That was my last day. Yeah.
Oh
At
my
my corporate job.
God. This is like probably going to
So
come out
probably, yeah,
that
around that
time.
time. Yeah. So, um, what was I saying? I forgot.
I know I got distracted because I was like, it's your
I was like, November
anniversary.
30th. It's my
Yeah. No, because you said you're going to
anniversary.
celebrate it like it's like a second. I mean, it does feel like a rebirth of sorts, of like
Yeah,
a new chapter.
it
I mean, I think
does.
that is a very interesting thing about the idea of like, and you can see chapters in your life when you look back.
Yeah.
Like clearly you
Yeah.
started a new chapter.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, oh, and I was mentioning like I'm excited about how to do that because it's just like I think we just have to make the decision. I think
Mm,
that's really all that it is. The same way we make the decision to take our self-care days and all that type of stuff to keep
yeah.
ourselves going and not burn out, we have to intentionally make that time to be like,
Mm,
okay, you've done some good work, and that's finding grace with ourselves to not being
yeah.
like, okay, girl, you can work more, you can work harder. It's being like, okay, I've done some stuff and I feel like I'm just all I'm doing is stuff. Let me
Mm,
take a step back. Let me look at this. Let me write down what the accomplishments have been,
yeah.
and just like I had, my quarterly meetings. That's a real thing where it allows me that time to kind of not get caught up in the minutia too much, but take a step back. If I'm,
Mm-hmm.
a board of directors, what are they looking at what I'm doing?
Yeah.
How are they assessing what I've been doing for the past 3 months or whatever to see how closer we're getting to our goals, our company corporate goals.
Yeah.
um, I think
I
it
love that
takes
you do
that
that.
level of intention. Yeah. And those are the types of things that I think are good from our past. It's like we don't come from a space where we have hustled all our lives, singing and doing content or,
Yeah.
being in front of the camera, whatever. It's like we've always had that passion and we always did it, right? To a certain degree. But we also come from a place where business. And that's important no matter
Yeah.
what it is. I don't care if you're a musician, you're a painter, whomever. You have to have that business acumen,
Yeah.
and we know how to do that and we know how to excel in that.
You know what?
So
I
we
have to
have to treat our
say,
businesses like, a
that's
touch.
honestly like, I think in my mind, I'm like, oh, creatives look like this, look like that. They couldn't even have been in an office, da, da, da. But you know what? I think it's a good way to reframe the time we spent
Mhm.
in professional, like office settings of
Yeah,
like, no, we like know how to run a business. And like when the business
absolutely.
is us,
Mhm.
like, trust me, I'm going to be 10 toes down for my
It's going to
business
be 10
every
toes
day,
down.
every day.
Yeah,
Every day.
absolutely.
And I'm going to use every ounce of my over a decade, 12-year plus career
Mhm.
in a high powered industry to push Ellen with a Y.
To push this forward. Absolutely.
I think
And
and you have to keep coming back to that touchstone. Like, I feel like I'm just
yes.
kind of really thinking about that of like, no, 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 no. Like,
No, no,
that's
no,
a
no, no.
benefit. Like,
It's
having
such a
business is a
benefit.
benefit. Yeah.
It's such I mean, that talk about a big tool in our belt.
Yeah.
It's and I mean, we
Business is
weren't
a
just playing
benefit. I feel
around.
like that's a
This
song.
that
I'll
is
stop trying to write
let me
songs
write
now.
that down. No, you don't need to stop. Keep
Okay.
going.
Yeah.
Business
I
is a
love a turn of
benefit.
phrase. I love a turn of phrase. I'll never lose that marketing girl in me,
Never. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like we we come and we weren't just dabbling. We weren't, cute little girls and, business. Like, no, we were
No,
little
careers.
bosses,
Like
okay?
careers.
We
Yeah.
had
Careers.
careers.
Yeah,
And we're
titles.
moving up
I had
the
a title.
ladders. I had
Yeah.
a title, a
I had a
real
title.
title. Like
Yeah.
people looking up to me, asking me questions. Oh, that was weird. But
Oh, I know, right? I'm
it
just like,
served a
"Whoa."
purpose. Me, I don't know. It serves a purpose, and lo and behold, it's a stepping stone for us to get here. You know what I mean? So for us to use all of those things that we learned in how to delegate, how to communicate,
Mhm.
and how to run, our certain respective aspects of, our business,
Yeah.
as part of those larger businesses, and just relate it to what we do now and make that excel, now that we're the founders and CEOs of our own things. It's
Yeah.
such a plus,
100%. And I was just thinking
Yeah.
about like how you have your like board meetings. How
Mhm.
does that what does that look like? Cuz I feel like for me, I could totally like learn from that, and I think anyone that's listening, even if you're not like on an entrepreneurial journey, if you're not like
Yeah.
pursuing some kind of like creative like end goal output, what have you, I think that this is honestly applicable to how does your family operate in the home? You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? How do you feel in your career if you're on a career path, a
Yeah.
journey? Like the idea of having like your own personal board meeting, if you will. I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, check in with yourself emotionally. How am I doing? How am
Mhm.
I feeling? Did the goal change since the
Oh,
last board
yes.
meeting? I'm curious, what
Right,
is the
right.
structure? Like, what does a board meeting for Ajamoye Music Incorporated Limited International
Hello, hello. Uh, it
Enterprises
looks
look
like
like? I'm trying to think of other ones I
I
can
love
add.
that, right?
And Co.
Industries, enterprises.
Ajamoye
That
Music
is so good.
Industry Enterprise Unlimited,
Worldwide
Limited, Worldwide,
LLC
Corporation,
corporation.
LLC, and Co.
Oh my
I
goodness.
like the and Co at the very end. And Sons. Ashamoye Music and Sons.
And sons. That is so hilarious. I love that. That's legit about to be my business name. So it looks like, because I love I like formalizing things. So
Mm.
it's a real calendar invite, and like I told you, my husband is my he's my person.
Does he have a title?
For the He should. He
Yeah, I
really
think
should.
he really needs to ask for a
And it's funny
promotion.
that I
I
don't
think he
have
needs to.
it's funny that I haven't given him a title, because I am so like, no, 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 like you're gonna be
Yeah.
this is your title, okay?
You're like, we need a contract. We
You've
need to be
been
more
promoted.
formal about this. A married couple. We're going to need a contract.
Right. I need you to sign it by Friday. If you don't sign it by Friday, it's a
Hmm.
wrap.
Yeah.
Um,
You won't hear from me
so
again.
I'm done. I will
I'm
wash
going to
my hands of
uninvite you to
this.
the board
Okay.
meetings. I'll say, good
Don't come
night.
to the
And then you
living
roll over.
room.
You're
All
like, good
right.
night. You roll over. Meeting adjourned. Roll over.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. But it is. It's a formal thing. It's an actual calendar invite.
Okay.
It's sitting at the dinner table, the dining table, and like literally going over all the things. And I set up the agenda, right? So
Hmm.
I set up time beforehand to like, like a 2-hour block to just kind of go over, okay, what are the goals for the next quarter? What have we accomplished? Like, let's write down all of the things. It's me going
Mm.
through my calendar, going through my email, like certain
Hmm.
ideas that I've written down in my notes and stuff over the past however many months or whatever,
Hmm.
and laying all of that out. I write it all down. So I love my iPad. I'm not an
Yeah.
Apple person, but
Yeah. Okay. Every
that
time,
iPad,
every episode, I'm
listen,
not an Apple person, but let me just do another
but let me
15-minute
just tell
promo
you
for
that
this iPad. Okay.
the iPad,
I
and I
don't
treat
understand why
it,
you're not going to just get an iPhone at this
no,
point.
because it's not intuitive to me. It's not.
Yeah, but you have
Even
an
with
iPad.
my
It's going to be
I
intuitive.
know, no, but it's not. It's been a year that I've had the iPad. But you know what it is? I like that my iPad is I treat it like how people say like, "Oh, I need a smart make your tablet smart or something like that. I
No,
treat it
I
as like
don't
a
know that.
dumb. You don't know that? Okay.
Just
Well,
kidding.
let me explain it. Wow, she just played me. Okay.
Oh my god. I'm
Well,
just
you
dying.
make it smart.
I love it. I love it. That is so funny.
No, I've never heard of that in my life.
I've actually never heard that. Who are you? What circles are you running?
It's well, you don't have the board meetings I have. Okay.
Don't make me laugh. I'm gonna wheeze. You know, I'm still getting over a
She's
cold.
still recovering from
I have to
a
mute. I have
sickness,
to
people.
cough.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Well,
my god. I'm gonna send you my bill for my cough.
listen, the smart device, like I don't connect it. Well, if I had an iPhone or something, I feel like that would interfere with
Mm,
me leaving it as a dumb device because it doesn't I don't have any of my emails
yeah.
connected to it, text messages. Yeah, I can't have text messages or whatever. So it is strictly for creative, like business purposes.
No,
That's it.
I get what you mean when you say it because it's not connected from like a social
Yeah,
communication perspective, and that
communication
probably
perspective.
helps keep
It
it
does.
as its
Strictly
own
for
thing.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep. So when I'm on it, I'm only focusing on stuff
yeah.
that, is pertinent to like my business or creativity, whatever. And I love that. I don't get
Mm,
distracted by all these other things. Excuse me, but I'll take the time out and really kind of write all those things down. I'll use like just like a notepad, I guess, type of feature. I'm trying to figure out Good Notes. That's what I use. I use good notes and I write down all the stuff. I write down what
yeah.
I've accomplished and I generally treat it like a board meeting. So I'm like telling Brandon all of these things because while he's very much my partner in life and stuff like that, I run Ajamoy music and he's always, lending an ear to listen or, provide insight if I ask or something like that.
Mhm.
So a lot of times he's very interested to see, like what I'm thinking, what's next, and
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. So I have to kind of explain to him maybe things that I haven't spoken to him about before when I'm
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
in the throes of whatever. So it's like a real agenda. I'll explain it to him like, okay, so I'm going to start with going off, on what I've done in the past few months. Here's
Mhm.
what I've accomplished. I, exceeded this goal, didn't meet this goal, looking forward to kind of carrying this over into the next quarter and then setting the vision for, the future.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
That's that
It's
MBA degree, guys. That's the higher level education, let me tell you.
whatever.
That is that next level of achieving of education because that's a
Mm,
really smart way to approach things. And also, I think a really, really good accountability tool.
yes, and
That is
that's a big
major.
part of why I
Yes.
did it
Yeah,
because it was
because you
just
can
like,
easily hide things from the boss when you are the boss,
when you are the boss,
you
right? And
know?
are you really hiding it? Because in your heart
No,
of
you're
hearts that
really
you didn't
you're
reach that
just
goal, girl,
you're
or you
just
said you
putting
were
it
going to do
to
it. And
mhm,
what? Yes,
mhm.
that was a large part of why I did it because I was like, I'm in this quote unquote by myself, so I don't want to just kind of rely on my
Yeah,
own thoughts and whatever about stuff. I
100%.
want some outside input that I can kind of really see things in a different way or whatever because and that's really important. And it could be anybody, it
Yeah,
could be a friend. Sometimes I talk to my mom about certain stuff, but we don't formalize it that way. I'll just kind of like give her check-ins because she's also like super curious and stuff
yeah,
like that. But yeah, I think that formalizing it and making it a real thing for me, and that's just the type of person that I am.
yeah,
I need the calendar invite. I need the time, in my schedule to make sure I need the agenda.
yeah.
Otherwise, I feel like I'm kind of just floating. I'm all over the place. It's like, no, let
Mhm.
me put all of this down. This is one, two, three. These are the three major things I need to focus on, for this month or whatever.
Yeah.
And then other things to kind of reinforce whatever it is that we've talked about from that quarter.
Mm.
So, having like my board that has like the overarching things that need to happen for the month,
Yeah.
putting reminders in my phone, like so that I don't forget what we discuss. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Because I don't have a team saying like, okay, so we're really trying to meet this goal for, November. It's like I have to remind myself because I'm focusing on 100 different things, right?
mm.
So I need ways to remember.
I mean, the idea of creating time to plan, I
Mhm.
think we talk about like scheduling in time to like rest so that you don't like overwork yourself, you don't burn out. There's also that
Yeah.
idea of like creating time in your calendar and creating time to prioritize planning. So you're not just kind
Yes.
of like falling over your feet head first, trying and
Mhm.
stumbling to make something happen. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there is luck, right? Like things kind of just
Mhm.
happen sometimes,
Right.
but that is met, that works when you have a lot of, you got your 10,000 hours behind you,
Preparation.
you've got your preparation,
Yes.
you know how to, even as much as like we've talked about making templates
Mhm.
for our businesses, right? Like my invoice
Yeah.
template is such a small thing. I'm sure for you too. It's like it's a
Yeah.
small thing, but the fact that it's created and it's done every single time now, it's just copy paste,
It's so
change a couple
easy.
things and keep it
Yep.
moving. And instead of it's like a
Seriously.
new thing every time,
Every time. Yeah,
and that
yeah.
makes things a
Those little
lot.
things.
Exactly. And like that took a little bit of like prep work. That
Yep.
took a little bit of extra time in the front. And now I'm like set. I don't have to think about that one thing. So it's like,
Right.
what else can we do, to make sure that, yeah, you're controlling what you can control. Let's control the
Mhm.
controllables, right? To bring it back to that concept of like control freak.
Yep.
Control the controllables, but
Yeah.
also control the calendar. Take control of the calendar. Make time for yourself to then create moments of, okay, this is when we're not going to be doing anything scheduled or crazy. And this one I'm going to have my downtime. Or, okay, I'm looking at the calendar. I see I'm really booked and busy this month. Maybe the next month I want to like create bigger time blocks for not being so booked and busy
Mm,
or what have you.
whatever.
But
Yeah.
I do think that like planning for rest is probably also
Mhm.
as important as planning for planning.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it sounds kind of asinine when I'm like plan to plan,
Plan
but
to plan.
you gotta plan to you gotta plan to have a plan, that sounds like
You
what
do.
Trump said on
You got to
stage
plan to
during
have
the
a
debate.
plan.
He's like, "Well, I don't have a plan yet, but I will have a
We're
plan."
working on a plan,
And look, he got
right?
elected president, so you know what? You don't need a
Listen,
plan
there's
to do well in
merit.
life, okay? So, oh
Just
my
fly by the
Lanta,
seat of
yeah,
your
just fly by
pants.
the seat of your pants, and your floppy hair, and just fly,
Just fly.
Just fly. Fly to another planet with Elon. How about that?
Oh
Oh, my
gosh.
Lanta. But truly, like, I do
But
think that idea of, you take even remember when we did our vision boards? We like
yes.
made a plan to do and sit and do our vision boards and take the time.
Perfect
And it was
example.
such a good exercise in pouring into ourselves and
Mhm.
manifesting something that we wanted to manifest
Yeah.
and growing something. And honestly, I do think that like we will be together shortly.
Oh
It's
my gosh.
probably a
Yes.
good time for us to do a vision board episode.
The answer is
Um
yes.
Audio and visual to come for a vision board episode.
Mhm.
Um because I think it's worthwhile. We can do like an episode of doing them, and that can just be like special for everyone, but then we can do an episode of
Yeah.
like talking through the vision board as like
Yeah.
the episode, you know what I mean?
Right, right.
That way we
I
have
would
like
love
a
that.
good vision board episode that's not a visual episode.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Look at
You
me
know what I'm saying?
planning. Look at me planning. You know what I'm saying? But I think like that's another example of like, okay, like planning to plan. Like, what does planning look like? Like, it can look like a
Mm,
million things. You could put together a
it
collage and
literally
it can be
can.
a literal, like, if the idea of holding like a literal board meeting and like being structured is like you're
Yeah,
allergic to it, okay, well, figure
that's
out a
fine.
different way to
Yes.
get what the output of a board meeting for you is, right? Is like,
Right.
okay, I want to have
Absolutely.
some goals. I want to put something on paper that is it's goals.
Yeah.
How do I
Mhm.
get there? Oh my God,
Yes.
vision boarding in Naya?
Oh boy. Oh my gosh.
A vision board and
We should
lunch.
totally
Lunch and
do that.
Naya and
Because
vision boarding.
they still owe us lunch.
They do.
They do.
That's right.
We got to
I
revisit
gotta go
that. I'm
find that.
telling
I gotta
you.
go find that DM.
Find
I
that
gotta go
DM.
screenshot that DM.
Yeah. No, seriously.
I'm gonna be like, "Hi, I'm here to collect. I'm ready for our free lunch." You said a free
Here
lunch.
to
There's
collect.
2 of us. Free lunch. Thank you.
They knew that. It was our podcast. Shoot.
Exactly.
Hello.
Oh my God, I gotta go back and screenshot
Don't
that. If I
act
didn't
brand
already
new.
screenshot it, I have to screenshot it.
If I didn't already.
Oh my God, I gotta go back and do that. Yeah, but I think that's like, it's so funny. I've been getting served on TikTok talking about the structure of something, and if it doesn't work for you, how do you find a different structure that works for you, but you still get the same outcome?
Yeah.
I.e., vision boarding or, creating a manifestations list, et cetera. If like a structured type of board meeting, et cetera. So there's some people who flourish with that type of structured, like, those like TikToks where people are making like checklists and it's like, this is what I have to do. And they do it in really pretty script. And then they do the highlighters and it looks beautiful. And I absolutely love it. That's just not something I can do. I cannot execute that, right? That's like, I love the idea of it, but that's not something I can do. But I can do a vision board or I can do a sit down like list of things I can get done, quick. Something that I started to lose my train of thought. No. I was talking about another way to. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. I didn't take my Adderall today. I think I've been doing pretty good though. I've been writing down my things. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm like, I've been doing good, right?
Right.
Pause for affirmations.
Wait for validation, right?
Pause for validation.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
thank you at the end. Thank you.
Oh my God. I love when I heard this in like a movie or something. It was like, don't fish.
Man.
Like fish for a compliment or something.
Yeah.
Don't fish.
Don't fish.
What I was saying is finding like your own way to that outcome, right? Of the plan of looking ahead of goals. So I've been getting served on TikTok a ton, this video of this anti-planner planner.
Okay.
On TikTok. And it is, this woman created it. And she basically she's like, I have ADHD. I can't handle like hyper organization and like the way that planning is like currently like organized. And she's like, and I have like, executive dysfunction, which my part of ADHD and depression is executive dysfunction. And like the inability to kind of like do those like scheduled tasks or follow account, like all of that is like harder for me. Yeah. And it's crazy because I like browbeat myself into being able to do that for so long. And it was always so hard. I always felt like very square peg, round hole. It always felt like I was like failing, but I was like failing up because I was doing well at work. It's just like a whole thing. Yeah. Anyway, she created this anti-planner planner and it's structured and detailed in a way for a brain that doesn't work within the confines of like typical calendar, typical scheduling, typical stuff, right? And it's kind of expensive. It's like $50 for this planner. Okay.
Okay. Is it for the year though?
It's for the year. Okay. And it's like, because, you usually get a planner like maybe $20 for a she one from Barnes and Nobles. You like I know it runs the gamut, but like, I was like over 50
more.
Really? For a planner?
Yeah. Because that's why I was asking if it's annual because I've one time when I was trying to figure out like the best planner, I even did ones that were based on quarters.
Oh, okay.
So they were only like 3 months.
Yeah.
And the junks were like $30. I'm like,
I did get a book once from McNally Jackson. That was a schedule. That was a planner. And it was expensive. But I felt like for TikTok, for like an anti-planner, like whatever. Anyway, it's like very colorful and has like drawings and designs. And it has like, different exercises and quotes. And it has like prompts and it has all these things that are like every like thing that people in the world put out there to be like, this helps with ADHD. This helps with your, executive dysfunction. This helps with procrastination. This helps with this. This helps with goal setting. Basically, this woman like created a planner that incorporates all of that stuff to help.
I want to see this
I
planner.
know,
Sounds
right?
like
Let me
it's for
pull it
me,
up. I
actually,
know. I love
because
it. It's the
I
anti-planner. Here
don't
it is.
like a dry planner. Like my planners, they need to have color. I need random
And I think
beautiful
she like
things.
self-published it. Yeah, Danny Donovan.
Copy and paste this.
Yeah, the anti-planner is an activity book specifically designed to help procrastinators. Do you abandon every planner you've ever tried? Yes. Beat yourself up a lot? Yes. Do you struggle to get yourself to do stuff? Yes. Hello. These are like, it's
This is
freaking
like
made for me.
everybody, right?
This was made for me. And then it's like, how are you feeling? Like overwhelmed, intimidated? Like, how do you like get yourself through? Like, this is procrastination blackjack.
Oh, and
Okay.
they
It's
have
a,
a digital one?
I don't know. Does she?
Oh,
Like
prefer
a
a
card game that
swearing wheel.
helps determine how many tasks you have to do today.
Huh.
Like, basically you create this like how like it's kind of it's just a really cool concept of like, okay, cool, you have a lot of stuff that you want to get done today. Well, how many things do you need to get done today? Let's play this game of like procrastination blackjack, and based on the cards that
Right.
you pull and what you assign them and what the cards mean, that's how many things you have to get done in the day.
Wow.
So it's creating, it's
Okay.
like gamifying it in some ways. There's other
Gamify,
cards,
yeah.
there's other things where it's like, okay, roll the dice of the things that you need to get done today. Like name them, name the thing that you need to get done today, assign it a number, and then roll the dice. And then that's how it gets decided.
That's
Like
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like all kinds of like just different functions. Like there's a whole thing that says like waiting to feel like it. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't have the willpower to push through. I want to do this, just not right now. I'm waiting for the right conditions to start. I'll get to this eventually, but it's not pressing. My emotions about a task are driving my actions. I struggle with discipline and self-control. Like all these things, right? This poor person, right?
Yeah.
And then it goes, when I base my actions around my emotions, it's easy to start avoiding anything that doesn't sound fun or interesting. Like I'm never going to feel like scheduling a dentist appointment or taking out the overflowing bedroom trash can. I don't have to get up early or work out. It's never gonna be fun to unpack the suitcase I've been living out of since I got back from vacation.
From the trip.
Yeah. It goes, perfect
Facts.
conditions don't exist. If we can learn to make things fun and motivate ourselves without relying on willpower, we can stop making too many excuses and start getting shit done. I feel like I have to buy it.
You sound super excited about it.
I know, right? I'm
Please
like, look
get
at me
it and let me
passionate. Look at me
see.
excited. Oh my God, should I order
Have
it? I
it
should order
shipped to
it.
the East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to do that. I'm going to buy it directly from her. I'll tell you that
Yeah,
much.
exactly. That's what we have to do.
Got to support small business.
That's right.
Yeah, I honestly do think I need to get this. I think that like, finding a way in to get yourself to that place of feeling organized enough, feeling in control enough to let go.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's the thing is like you can't just like let go willy-nilly haphazard. Like many people can't do that. I can't do that, I think we've spoken on the podcast before about like when someone's just like, or we could do this, or we could do that, or why don't we go here and we can do this and we can go there. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. You have to stop. Yeah. I can't stand, honestly, I really like, it really makes me sick, like inside, because I don't want to say anything. But when someone's like, yeah, like we could go here and then we could go there and we could go do this and we can get this. And it's like, I could do one of those things every other day.
Oh my gosh.
You've stressed me out.
Right.
I'm now overwhelmed thinking about how logistically you're going to get these things done. Do you know how much traffic there is? How much you're going to have to pay for parking? Like, it's like, it's just the logistics side. Yeah. I just like can't, like, I can't just like, yeah, we could go to, I'm going to be sick thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, I think that to your point, like if there is that element of like needing control of your creativity, of your vision, of your output, how can I create the environment? I think you can use those all different words. To kind of chill.
Facilitate that.
To facilitate the let go and let God. Because if you need to facilitate an environment, if you know you need control, but you know you also need to let go, let God, okay, then like how do we facilitate an environment where you can?
Exactly. Yes. And knowing yourself, it
Mm,
starts there, you know? What will help you to be comfortable or at least move closer to the let go part? Because
mm,
I'm sure there are some people who struggle with the whole, like, they love the idea of letting go, but actually letting go, they might not ever be comfortable doing that. So you
yeah.
have to, there's going to be discomfort, right? But you have to find the space where you're okay to let in the discomfort.
Mm,
That's super important. And knowing yourself is, and I love that we just, started talking about this planner that you mentioned,
yeah.
because it starts with stuff like that. Like, I know me, I like structure, but I also like fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
even in, just since we were talking about the planner example, it's like my planner is very much fun. My notebook and all that type of stuff, it has all the things to keep me engaged, to like keep me wanting to come back. I'm not that
Mm,
person who goes in, what's that one? And no shade to them, but like the one a day planners or something that's just kind of just very, very executive,
okay.
very Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever.
Yeah.
I create those types of things, and I love the digital planner because I think it's given me more freedom to do that,
Mm,
because I can move things the way that I want to see them. It's
yeah.
a very customized approach. And even with the way I handle the board meeting. And, a part of it too, like we mentioned about running businesses, I just want to share this because I thought this was really cool. It was like a full circle moment for me as part of my master's program, for entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
That I find that so funny in hindsight. But anyway, as part of my like kind of thesis, I had to create a business plan. And
Okay.
I still have that business plan, right? And it was for a music business. And so I revisited it like a few months ago or whatever. And I'm looking at everything. I had the profit and loss statement, and I had,
Wow.
how we were going to move through year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all these different things. And so it was so cool. I was like, oh my gosh, like finally here I am, like living this thing that I did, so many
Mm,
years ago, and being able to look at like, okay, here we are. This is where we are today. This is like how it all and it's not that I had forgotten about it. I remember doing that, but
yeah.
it had, it just sat, you know what I mean? And me going through it was like it was so invigorating to see like, okay, I hit this. Oh my gosh, I'm doing that.
Mm.
Wow. Oh my goodness, look at this goal. I can use this for next year's goal. Like that was
Oh.
so cool for me to see. And a part like that part of me that likes that like structure and organization, like I love to tell people this because I think it's so cool and important.
Mm,
And again, however it works for you. For me, I'm just like, I worked in a traditional corporate whatever. And so I have my like creative, the music stuff, but it's like, I want this to be a global enterprise. So I'm
yeah.
treating it as if I need people to run it like so. So, I have a profit and loss statement. So, and seeing like where we are, how much we made this year, all these types of things. And it's just, to me, that's exciting because it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I know where I'm going. And it's something that I've learned from my business coaches over the years, where it's like, if we don't know where we are, we don't know where we're going. There's no way that
Yeah.
we can tell what we want to, achieve or how we're doing if we don't have certain checkpoints.
Mm,
So I can say I want to make, $10 million this year. It's like, okay, how much did you make this year? Like, where do you have that information actually like documented or whatever? It's like, we got to create space for that. Like, know it.
yeah.
Even if you don't have to have like some crazy sheet if it's just you or whatever, but like know it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Be able to know exactly where you are in your business so you can know where you're going, how close you are. And that also, that can excite you. To
Yeah.
be like, okay, well, I'm here. I'm this far from the goal, or I just have to do this and then I'll be this closer to it.
Mhm. I think that
Yeah.
that's a big point of the getting the information, being clear on
Mhm.
like what's what, I think is a good is an important element of like being able you can kind of like I don't like the phrase calm down, but you can kind of find peace if you know what you're working with, if you know what's actually happening, if you kind of like get a good handle of what's actually going on, then there's also, like you were saying, like you can create the environment to kind of relax, kind of chill out a little bit on certain things. I think that like that's pretty paramount, is just not like whirling dervish of like, I don't know what's happening. And like, I'm going to reach my hand out here and grab something. And maybe grab over here. And that's like, okay, like that's, chaotic. But also, you know, it's, maybe not the best way to kind of create something that's like sustainable. And maybe that works sometimes for some people. And more power to you. But I think that you can kind of alleviate some of that chaos, and that's how I function. Like, that's how I function. It's like, yeah, but if it's causing you strife, like maybe you don't have to function that way. And like I was saying earlier, like I would like melt down when I had to deal with like executive dysfunction stuff, like calling insurance, handling my taxes. If it was difficult or if it was stressful, I would be like melting down, crying, worked up about it. And then, over time through therapy, I really kind of came to the realization of like, I can only control what I can control, right? I can't control other people. And having like melting down, panicking, it does not serve me. Even though I'm overwhelmed and stressed out, I lose time to the meltdown, and that doesn't help me. You're allowed to feel your feelings. You're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to be stressed. You're allowed to, vigorously curse if you want to, yell, whatever, if you need to get through the thing.
Right.
But, don't continue to engage in behaviors that are like to your own detriment. Right.
Right.
And I think that that's a big part of the like relinquishing control, but not devolving into a chaotic experience. Like, not just like, I don't even know what's happening, throw papers in the air,
Right.
There's a difference. There's a significant difference.
Huge difference. Absolutely. Yeah. There's an art to that. But wow.
That feels like so chaotic to me, the idea of like throwing papers in the air. I can vividly remember watching the movie Grease, and at the end of the movie, when they all like, summer or whatever, they all throw their papers in the air. And I'm just like, like the idea. Okay. Do you know, like in graduations when people throw their caps?
I was just going to say that. I was literally like, I hate when they show that, because I'm like, well, what about my hat? I want my hat. That was literally what I was going to mention. Because
absolutely not.
No, I want my hat.
No,
what about
my hat.
How am I going to
get it back? Literally, also not for nothing. You were supposed to like return your graduation outfit.
Thank you.
I didn't return my cap. I kept my cap. But like, you do return the graduation dress part,
Yeah.
and it's like,
absolutely.
That's for the movies. No, but I've seen people in real time. I have seen people throw caps.
They throw all cares to the wind. That's
oh my God. I love my cousin Julie. She listens to podcasts. She told me the other day, she's like, I was listening to the podcast. She's going to laugh at this. She took a video at her college graduation, and like a cap like came down and like hit her, and they were like hitting her and her friends. Guys, those things have sharp corners. Do you know what I'm saying?
First of all,
it's a weapon.
This is dangerous.
Yeah.
We don't want to hurt people on the last day of school.
No, guys. Hurt people. You don't want to do that.
Right.
So funny.
Stand for it.
No, we do not stand for it. No, but it's so funny. Like those, like, it's funny when you see those little moments of like no control, like that, like kind of like,
just like,
like freewheeling, kind of whatever. Throw caution to the wind. That has never been my emotional home. Okay, that has never been my emotional home.
Nope,
I'm like, it's funny because I'm a rule follower. Like I stay within the lines kind of thing. And I struggle with like, the like stepping outside of that. And it's funny, we were going to the Usher concert, a group of us, And who knows if this will age well because, everything that's
Oh
going on
my
in the
gosh,
world.
it's gonna
But
be fine.
I mean, I hope, I was going to the Usher concert, my second Usher concert of my life. And we were going through security and at the Intuit Dome, and you could only have literally a clutch. That was it for women for purses. And I'm like, this man's pockets are deeper than the purse I'm carrying. Let's address
Seriously.
this. Okay.
Yeah.
I brought my Beyonce bag because when I went to see Beyonce at SoFi, you had to have a clear bag.
A
small clear bag. So I was like, I'll just bring my small clear bag. This is a concert staple. It's relatively small enough. It's fine. So I go through, I scan whatever. And this woman's just like, oh, that bag's too big. I go, yeah, but it's a clear bag. This is a standard. You can literally see everything. She's like, oh, but it's too big. And all the people I was with were behind me. And so now they're starting to get scanned and they're starting to come through. And she has to scan them
You're
next.
held back.
And no, I'm standing in front of them because we're still talking. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just throw it out. Is there a garbage? Where's the garbage? She's like, oh, yeah, well, the garbage is here. And I was like, okay, I'll just throw it out. So I make I'm taking my stuff out. And she was like, oh, okay. She was shocked I was going to throw the bag out. She moves on, starts wanding the friends behind me. I just kept walking.
Exactly.
I just kept walking.
Whatever.
And then I had to go through and scan the ticket on my phone at a different door. It's a pretty intense experience.
Yeah.
And I scanned my ticket. I just kept my purse on the inside of my jacket that I got to keep on when I walked inside.
Right. Silly. Because she knew that was
so silly. So silly.
That was so dumb.
It was one of those moments. It was so funny because I was just and I'm just going to keep moving. And then my friends that were behind me were just like, oh my God, look at you. You just kept going. You just went in with the bag. You didn't care. I was like, yeah, well, I said I'd throw it away. And she just kind of stopped paying attention to me. So I walked in.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel really bad. I feel really bad for the girl with the Gucci bag, three people back. She's gonna be in trouble. She's gonna have a struggle tonight.
She's gonna have a
she's gonna know struggle tonight. Let me tell you.
She's just gonna have to go back to her car, take that mile walk, and then come back.
I was like, oh my God, imagine if this wasn't a $15 clear plastic Amazon bag, please. But all that to say, I was like, rebel. I was so proud of myself. And that's the silliest, littlest thing,
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God.
But
it's
a huge step for Ellen. Okay?
Yeah, what a step, and I think that I'm not out here advocating for breaking rules. All I'm saying is loosening up the control, right? And just being a little bit okay to kind of
go with the flow a little bit.
Swerve and curve instead of hard edges and hard lines, and that's where you relinquishing that control is important and that rigidity.
I heard this quote. Where was it? It was so good. I just heard it 2 days ago. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so profound. And you've probably heard an iteration of it, but it said, we're like water. So when you just mentioned, kind of go as things go.
Yeah.
It's like water takes on the shape of whatever container it's in. It can ebb and flow or whatever. It can pass through rock if it needs to. If there's a lot of it, it's super strong, it's super powerful or whatever. So be like water. And I just thought I was like, oh my goodness, that is so, so true and profound. To have that fluidity of spirit and of mind and all of that.
Yeah.
Because it's powerful, it's soft, it's malleable, it's all these things,
Yeah.
And it just depends on the situation. So
1,000%.
Yeah.
And I often think about I like water. When I was driving cross country, I was driving through the Rockies and there's the Colorado River. That's how it's all kind of carved out over there. And you can see how much the river carved through, and it just keeps going. It's getting much lower than it was when originally the highway was created there. And it's very interesting to see the power of that flow, and that it's just the idea that even it just makes me think, the elements in and of themselves are truly quite serious forces. You know, you think of water, it gives life, but it can also take, it can evolve, it can grow. I think about the ocean. That's why I like living by water, because it reminds you about the vastness of life and how small we are in a comparison. That's why I love being by water. It's very calming.
Same, yeah.
And the idea that like I try to stick with the mantra of like, I like am like the ocean. I rise and fall with the tide. I don't crash like a wave, right? Like I don't allow my emotions to crush me. I am the tide, and the tide rises and falls, but it's always going and it's consistent, and it's not this like the crash of the break of the waves on the shore. I don't like to live in turmoil like that. I'd rather stay in the ocean and just rise and fall with the tide. And I think that that's thinking about just, I can relinquish control when I've, and I can create an environment where I can rise and fall with the tide, as long as I've created the environment to do so.
That part.
Otherwise, I am going to get churned up with the crashing of the waves, and I can't function in that environment.
We can turn up.
That's #burnout.
Yes, absolutely.
So I will. I need to like add a visual of water to the end of this.
Yeah, to the
We'll just put. I'll put like a little clip of just water.
West. Yeah, I love that song. Wow. This was
this was nice.
really great. This is a great episode, Ellen.
So glad we do this podcast.
I'm very I loved all of that. That was so good.
Love it.
We hope you got something out of it.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't, we're still going to record. So thanks a lot.
And if you didn't get it yet, just wait on it. You'll get it later.
Yeah, just maybe listen to this again if you need to. Sometimes you have to go back to something and listen to it again.
Absolutely. Timing is everything.
I've definitely done that.
Right. So, yeah, that was everything I needed.
Yes.
If it wasn't for you, it was for me, ladies and gentlemen.
It was for us. Thank you.
So,
thanks for listening.
Thank you,
like,
Ellen.
comment,
that
subscribe,
was awesome.
share. Thank you, Aja. I was so like, I'm inspired to kind of like get myself right to close out the year and plan and prep for the next year in a way that like really serves me and kind of not so whirling dervishy. So I feel like I've been like getting the wheels on the bike, and I'm ready to go.
Hey, there we go. I'm excited about our vision board because we haven't done that in a while due to COVID.
I know we haven't done it since pre-pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's
time to do it, because everything for the most part except for travel came true on that board.
I remember she mentions that a lot. She really loved that vision board.
I loved my vision board.
I was there.
Yeah, because no, honestly, it really came. It was beautiful. It came to life.
It came to life. It really did.
So we'll definitely create a vision board planning day, and then I'll see you very soon.
Very soon. Thank you guys for listening, for watching. As Ellen mentioned, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, follow, share, all the things. Go back in the catalog.
We can't control you, but please go like, comment, subscribe.
But please
share this with a friend.
Yes, share it. We have our clips. We're all on all the socials, wherever you listen
on
to your
the socials,
podcast.
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
That's it.
Send love, guys. And if you listen to the podcast, let us know. It's the sweetest thing when we find out someone's listening.
Or something on one of our channels. That would be great. Maybe a question that you ask could be a topic on an upcoming episode, or at least be
for
something
sure
that we touch upon. Yeah,
if you guys ever want to see this podcast live on tour, you guys, we really have to spread the word, people.
Yes, engagement is important. Okay.
Yeah, I've already started thinking about what our shows would look like if we did the podcast live.
Absolutely.
We have to do a planning
that's
session.
Going to be on the vision board for our podcast specifically. It's literally I'm looking at it on my computer.
Literally, I have like such ideas for like what a live like podcast episode, like a live record, not even a recording, like a show. I just think I can't wait.
Oof.
Can't wait.
Listen.
All right, guys. On that note, stay tuned. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. The Regents Podcast. The Regents Podcast.
Just gotta chop up some cucumber. It's pretty easy.
You go, girl. Be careful, because I nicked myself the other day.
I don't know, I'm kind of scared.
There you go.
I'm not a good cutter, so don't zoom in on me. I'm not professional whatsoever.
Hey, chef, do you want to cut this up for her?
I'll do it, Mom. It's fine.